3 things you gotta do this summer to get on your best shape possible to pre-season. My name is Ender and you might know me from my Instagram account. However, I'm going to use YouTube to share content in English. All the content that I'm going to share on YouTube is going to be related to football, strength and power training, endurance training, plyometrics and everything. And also I'm going to share my experiences. So let's get it. So the purpose of this video is to tell you what you have to do during the off season. But you might wonder what is the off season? Well, to define what the off season is, we have to take the whole season and divide it in different phases. So you start the season with the pre-season. The pre-season are the weeks before competitions start. Then we've got in-season, which is the period on which every single weekend you go and play a game. When you finish in season, you start the post-season, which is the vacation weeks. And the weeks before post-season and pre-season are the off-season. So we can define off-season as the preparation for the pre-season. And now that we know what the off-season is, I'm going to tell you the 3 things you gotta do, and I'm going to tell you what we've done in the program coaching professional, semi-professional and amateur footballers. So let's go. Well, the first thing that you gotta do is a screening. What's a screening? Well, a screening is analyzing yourself, and this is crucial. This is very important because this is going to tell you what your weaknesses are and also your strength. And not only that, the screening is going to tell us how the training program is going to be for the first weeks. From the screening, we identified the exercises that you need and to an extent the load that you require to get to the next level. So if you don't do that, you are missing out on a massive piece of information. In the program, we measure a few things. First of all, we measure your ability to move, how well you move on a single leg, how well you move on 2 legs, how well you do a deadlift or a hip hinge, how well you control your core. Another thing that we measure is your feet, what type of feet you got, because depending on your foot type, you might need one type of jumps more than the other. And the last thing that we measure is your performance, how high you jump, which tell us how powerful and to an extent how strong you are. Now that we've got the screening, we know where to begin. And my philosophy to training is that you gotta improve your weaknesses and you gotta enhance your strengths. And this applies to the individual and also the team, for example. But we are not going to talk about the team, but the individual. So the second thing that you gotta do, train with purpose and focus. Again, improving your weaknesses and enhance your strengths is going to save you a ton of time. In other words, you are not going to waste time. I hate wasting time. So Ender, what have you done during this off season? Well, we focus on just 3 things, the things that we consider that are the most important for our athletes, and these are strength. Number 1, for the last 7 weeks, our goal is to improve the strength levels of our athletes. Yes, it is true that some of them are stronger than others, but all of them are not strong enough. So we've done a lot of heavy squats, a lot of heavy presses, a lot of heavy deadlifts. The second thing that we trained was acceleration and speed, but the goal of training acceleration and speed was not to get them faster, which again is important. Yes, but it wasn't our main goal. Our goal is to get them ready for pre-season, because for example, imagine that they are asked to do a 50-minute sprint on the second day of preseason. Are you prepared? Are you ready? Are you strong enough to do the sprint without getting injured? That was the main goal, to be able to perform what they are asked without pulling a hamstring. And guess what? They got faster. So we increase their robustness, which means that we reduce the likelihood of getting injured, while at the same time they got faster. And the last thing we trained or we focused on was the endurance part. I strongly believe that endurance is very, very important, and every year, every season that passes by, I believe even more and more this statement, because think for a second what I'm about to tell you. Alright, you are in the middle of the game. The ball is there and you are tired. You are fatigued, but your opponent is not that fatigued. Who's gonna get the ball? You're not gonna get the ball. He or she is gonna get the ball because he's more fresh than you, because he's got a better endurance than you. If you are tired, if you are fatigued, you produce less force, which means that you cannot run that fast and you cannot jump that high. Not only that, but the likelihood of getting injured increases a lot. So having an appropriate level of endurance is very important for the footballer, especially nowadays that the game is getting faster and more difficult and more physical. So we train the aerobic and the anaerobic endurance, so our footballers will start the preseason ready to repeat high intensity effort frequently without getting tired. And now it comes the third thing that you gotta do this off season, which is load management. Keep track on how you feel, especially before engaging in a workout. Now I'm gonna be truly honest with you, our program wouldn't even exist without the load management part, because thanks to this we are able to see if our footballers are ready enough to do what they are supposed to do. This also tells us when the athlete is not ready enough. So what do we do when that happens? We reduce load. I'm gonna explain you this with a very easy example. Imagine that you've got a game on Saturday. Now you're going to compare how fresh you are on 4 different days. The first one is going to be Sunday, the day after the game, then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, right? Now you tell me, on Sunday you're gonna be beat up. You play 90 minutes the day before, you can't do anything now. On Monday you might feel a bit better. However, you've got this feeling of general fatigue that you feel tired, and it's normal. On Tuesday you are not 100% ready, but you are very close to it. You don't feel pain and you don't feel as fatigued as the day before. On Wednesday you are 100% ready to go. So if depending on the day you feel more or less ready to engage on a workout, that means that you cannot do the same workout every single day. Because if you do the same workout on a Sunday right after the game that the one that you would do on a Wednesday, I promise you that on Sunday you will die, because you are not ready, you are not fresh enough to do what you are supposed to do. So load management is exactly the same. You gotta keep track of a few metrics that are going to tell you how fresh you are. I know that this is a tedious, dull and boring process, but if you don't have anybody to do it, you gotta do it yourself. I'm going to tell you the metrics that we look at in the program. We keep track on the number of hours that you sleep, on the quality of your sleep, hydration, nutrition, and we also measure your neuromuscular ability, or how fatigued you are when it comes to the muscle. How do we do this? By measuring the vertical jump. We do this every day and every week except for the jumps. We usually measure the vertical jump every week, every 2 weeks, or every 3 weeks, depending on the training phase. But what I want to tell you is that it's important for you to keep track of something related to this, because it's going to tell you a huge, massive, very important piece of information. It's going to tell you if you are ready enough to do what you are supposed to do. And when you have all the numbers, you can make informed decisions on what to do with your training program for that day. And that is going to keep you improving every single week. So I'm going to wrap it up. Off season, the phase to prepare the preseason. So in the preseason, you don't pull a hamstring, and you gotta do these 3 things. First, you gotta analyze, you gotta do some kind of a screening to yourself, because it's very important to identify your weaknesses and your strengths. And also it's going to tell you where the training program is going to begin and how it's going to begin. Second is, do not waste time. Focus on improving your weaknesses and enhance your strengths. Focus on 1, 2 or 3 things, no more than that. And the third one, keep track on how you feel. Write down how sore you are, how well you sleep, the number of hours that you slept the night before, if you are hydrated enough, so you're able to see if you are fresh enough to do what you are supposed to do. If you do these 3 things, I promise you that you're gonna get into the preseason on a very, very good shape. The risk of injury will decrease and you will feel strong and powerful. So that's it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please drop a like and subscribe, and I see you next time with more football and strength and conditioning content. It ain't luck, just work. Let's get it.